Hi, we're James and
Leah.
we moved out to the Fairbanks area in May of 2017. So we're starting our third year here and we've gone through two winters. We moved from a state that seemed like it overtaxed and underrepresented its residents, so we decided to move to a state that we felt would be a freer state that respected its residents in better fashion.
We raised 4 kids here, so it's kind of where we have ages from 15 all the way down to 3, so we have a wide range of children that we're raising, and definitely want to be more free. We homeschool, way of life here. We're trying to start a small hobby farm.
We did a little bit of research, and as of March 2019, the EPA Science Panel was considering guidelines that upend basic air pollution science. The panel was meeting to consider recommendations that would fundamentally change how the agency analyzes the public health dangers posed by air pollution. This could also lead to weaker regulation of soot. At a public meeting that ran nearly 2 hours long, multiple members of that committee, including Chair Tony Cox and Stephen Packham, of the Utah Division of Air Quality, said they do not agree that breathing air polluted with soot can lead to an early death. In a surprise development, the full panel appeared to agree that other experts should be brought in to review the current recommendations. So now we know that the experts on the environment are asking for help from the experts. Also, a story from March 2019, Duke University's been ordered to pay $112 million to settle a whistleblower lawsuit after federal prosecutors said a research technician's fake data landed millions of dollars in federal grants. Duke University submitted claims for dozens of research grants that contained falsified or fabricated information that unjustly drained taxpayer money from the National Institute of Health, the EPA, and other federal agencies. The school said it's repaying grant money and related penalties. We as Alaskans seem to be governed by rules and regulations based on falsified and inaccurate science, or some would say a science that is constantly evolving. No matter which way you look at it, it has to be acknowledged that some of the decisions that the EPA and the DEC have made in regards to wood burning regulations have been based on some of the data previously mentioned. It seems only real benefactors to restrictions on wood burning are those who profit from the sales of utilities and fossil fuels. Our family lives in a pretty large home. It's over 3,000 square feet, and though we've been blessed to have a very efficient home, it has 10-inch thick walls, triple pane windows. The only way that we can use the small amount of heating oil that we do use is by supplementing heat with our wood-burning stove. Our costs probably are less than normal compared to people in more humble homes, but many people cannot afford to better insulate their homes or upgrade their windows. But we feel that all people have a right to live through winter with comfort and warmth. What kind of just regulations exist that penalize people for affordably heating their homes within reasonable means? According to the Council for Community and Economic Research, Juneau, Anchorage, and Fairbanks, Alaska make up 3 of the top 20 most expensive cities to live in the entire United States, and this is for 2019. Fairbanks has a cost of living 28.3% higher than the average for the U.S. and an unemployment rate of 6.7%. The U.S. average rate of unemployment is 4% even. The cost of wood burning compared to strictly using an electric and fossil fuel heat is drastically less. It'll also keep a home drier and less prone to mold and mildew. We practice clean, responsible, hot burning stoves. And we also believe that the responsible wood burning practices are key in economic survival through Alaska winters, especially in the interior. Wood burning should be our right, and for some people it could possibly be their only means of survival through a winter. We decided to get involved with wood burning rights because we feel that wood burning is a right. When a right becomes jeopardized, people expect politicians to care, but politicians seem to seek the best interest for their supporters rather than their constituents. And when this seems to happen, constituents have a need to step up and remind the politicians that they exist to serve us, not the other way around.
For us, it's about surviving.
We don't have a generator, so on the occasions where the power does go out and we're relying on our wood-burning stove, we come inside the house and we light a few candles. We still have our heat. We're able to cook on that thing.
Which we have done. When we first purchased the house, our boiler didn't really work. We had some issues with it, and there was, we were learning the house, and he was gone, so it was like, oh, what do I do? So I had no idea,
You even heated some bath water off that stove.
I did, yeah. I had a big old, so I guess that would be kind of a warm and fuzzy. I had to give the kids a
Warm
camping
bath in the middle of winter when you have no power. Yeah, that's warm and fuzzy.
Our wood stove definitely means security for us. Before we had moved up here and we were looking for houses to purchase, that was one of my main requirements. We did quite a bit of research before we moved up here. We've heard stories that there are people, you know, they move up here and they have no idea how cold the winter gets here. And it's like, well, it's Alaska. You hear stories, you know, it's cold. But when you're looking at negative 50s and negative 60s, and then you look at, you know, from the whole month of January, and it's just like, oh, it's pretty cold. Our house, we sit in, you know, there's microclimates all over, so we generally run about 10 degrees colder here than some other places. So the first year we were here, when people were like, oh, it's like negative 30s, I'm like, no, we're negative 40s here. So we got pretty close to negative 60 last year here. So it's security knowing that I have a way to heat my home, because power does go out. It's kind of scary to think that, you know, my boiler isn't always functioning, and to know that I'll be able to heat my house and make sure that my kids are warm. It's, to me, it's kind of a life or death thing. You know, a lot of people just want to talk about just surviving, and I just don't want to survive here. I want to live here. You know, I want to be comfortable. I want to be able to enjoy
and
my
we want to
time
be able
here.
to afford living here.
Right, and that's, you know, it's not.
GVEA keeps jacking up their rates. They keep making it harder to live here. Fuel costs haven't really gone down. I mean, they'd love us to get a wood pellet stove, but then once again, you're relying on power. So if the power goes out, you would have to get a generator. So once again, you're burning fossil fuels just to heat your home.
So I'm going to be honest, the burn bans, I didn't follow them. To be 100% honest, I didn't follow any of the burn bans because it should not be mandated that I'm not allowed to heat my house or keep my children warm when it's negative 50 outside. This is an act of survival. You're telling people that they literally have to freeze because somebody else, and I am sympathetic to people who have breathing problems, but
What are they doing right now?
yeah, that was another point I wanted to bring up, you know, with the wildfires, but I've never experienced air that has been cleaner, even in the inversion in the wintertime. Compared to the air now that I'm dealing with, this is nuts outside. I mean, I've never dealt with raining ash, or like I've had a couple days ago, it was really hard to try and breathe.
We burn very responsibly. We go outside and monitor our stack periodically when we burn. Most times when we're burning, if you were driving by, you wouldn't even be able to tell we were burning unless we were just starting up early morning. Because we get that thing going hot and we burn clean all day. And we we live in interior Alaska, and like Leah mentioned, we do have kind of a microclimate here. We tend to be a little bit colder in the winter. We can also be a little bit warmer in the summer, and sometimes weather decides to throw a loop-de-loop on that. So it's not always consistent, but yeah, we have to do what we have to do to survive.
Like we had already stated, we left a state where we weren't able to raise our children the way we best saw fit. We really want Alaska to be our forever home. You know, we talk about moving outside of the borough because of the things that they're doing.
When it comes to something simple like responsibly heating your home using wood fuel, I just don't understand how that could be a crime. And it's silly to think that somebody would make up rules and regulations to make it a crime.
And that, I mean, then again, it comes back full circle, is that the science that they're using to try and implement this is based on too many variables. I really don't think that it's as detrimental.
And a lot of it's falsified. But a lot of the information that they're relying on is blatantly known to be falsified now. And when you got two key personnel on the EPA admitting that they don't feel that inhalation of soot leads to early death, then where are the dangers? I mean, if there's more danger coming from carbon monoxide and everything else from vehicles and boilers running, then, I mean, honestly, what's the danger in burning wood when you're being responsible and burning clean? They need to, if they haven't ever spent a winter living in interior Alaska, and come and tell me to my face that they don't feel that burning wood should be a way to heat my home. I think they would be I mean, any person that would spend just one winter, even if it's just for vacation, I think they would find great relief, great warmth in lighting a fire.
We're wood burners, and we're going to continue to burn wood. It's a way of life here in Alaska, and I don't think it should be taken away.